You are listening to Free Zone Radio. Now, keep it secret. Keep it safe.
For Free Zone Radio, this is With Honors, the Summer Series.
Well, it's summer again, and it's Big Summer Read time again, and we're here on a beach, and it's so warm, and the sky is this deep red, and wait a minute, this isn't sand, this is ash, and the sky is red because we're at Mount Doom. Mr. Drew, sir, wake up! Mr. Drew, wake up! As you guys know, Big Summer Read has started, and this is our first, I guess, check-in, even though Tolkien, way back in the day, knew that we were going to do a Big Summer Read of Lord of the Rings in the future, and he was nice enough to divide it up for us into 3 separate books so that we would have nice little points to check in. The Fellowship of the Ring, what can you say about it that you don't already know, dear listener? The One Ring is seeking its master after being forged from the fires of Mount Doom. It's spent over 2,000 years in a river and then was found by the one and only Smeagol, and which we all know found its way into Bilbo Baggins' pocket, which at his 11th birthday found its way onto his finger, which then found it on Frodo Baggins' neck. And Tolkien just tells us a story that is about unlikely heroes. I think it's about true good surviving in a world of true evil. I think that it is finding the goodness in simple living versus the fires of industry. Comfort, valuing things like comfort. I was watching the movie, which this is not to get into the movie thing we're going to do. What's that show called? But I was thinking last night when I was watching, because Gandalf was saying that he was glad that the bad news had not reached the Shire yet and that they were still kind of living their own way. It reminded me of this kind of like fable story type thing where a guy was living in like the Caribbean. He's a fisherman. This rich CEO from America comes down. The guy's like living a good life. He's like, he goes out fishing. He comes in. He doesn't have a lot of money. He goes out, hangs out with his buddies at night. He drinks a little, plays some cards, comes home. He's got a wife. They make love. That's kind of like his routine, right? And he's living by the ocean. He's living by the beach. So this American CEO comes down, and he takes him on a tour. And the American CEO is just like, oh, man, we could make so much money off of this. Like, dude, you could be so rich if you did this. And, you know, we could up the tours, and you could work harder, and we could do this. And I could come in, and we could bring all these people and all this managing. And then when you retire, you can retire by the beach, and all you got to do is drink all day and fish all day, and then you can make love to your wife at night. And the guy was like, but I'm already doing that. It's just I'm not living in a mansion. I'm living in a hut. And the Hobbit's life kind of reminded me of that story because they're just living a simple life, comfortable life. They love to eat. They love to have fun. And they're not really concerned with what's going on in the world. And I think that I was thinking maybe Tolkien's kind of saying like, hey, it is okay to value things like comfort and to value things like coziness and stuff like that.
Yeah, because if it weren't, then why are those characters his main characters over and over? Why are they the good guys over and over? You know, I wish somebody had told that parable to the founding fathers of Cookeville, Tennessee. That when these people come in and say, you know, you've got all of these wonderful Cummins Falls. Look at this. You've got all this open land right here. You could just sell it off and you could make a whole big thing here. And then we already have that. Like we already have that peacefulness.
Yeah.
Not now.
Not now.
Somebody's going to need to write a song of Goodbye Hobbiton, something like that. Goodbye Mayberry.
Goodbye Willow. The tree's roots run deep, my lord.
Rip them out.
Rip them out.
Boy, that is Cookeville, Tennessee to a T. If you get on Willow here and you go past Tech, you'll be headed toward my house. Just past city limits, the road does this dogleg curve, and you will see it. It is stripped bare. To the clay, stripped bare, the entire top of this slope. And there used to be such rich, dense trees there that it was always like shady and dark and green and everything. And ever since I've been coming here, so I started Tech in fall of 97. There was always a big for sale sign there. So since fall of 97 and before, for sale, but nobody would buy it. Nobody would buy it. You just kind of took it for granted that it's for sale, but nobody wants it, as if there was something protecting it, right? Something is protecting the woods. Well, by golly, a couple of years ago, it sold, and they stripped it to the dirt. And, you know, they've never built anything on it because it keeps landsliding. And there's so much instability to it. It's almost like the trees were serving a purpose.
Can you imagine?
But Cookeville is ripping them out.
I thought that I saw when I drove by one night these large trees throwing rocks onto it. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah.
I hear.
And a couple hobbits.
You know, I was talking to Samwise Gamgee, and he says, he says that they say there's one bigger than a tree that was seen in there. He was sitting in the pub, and they were talking about elves, and they were talking about things that look like trees that move among the trees.
Yeah.
And Sam's like, they say there's one bigger than a tree. And I love that the guy at the table's like, who's they? And I thought, that's right. Who is they, Sam? Who's they? Who says this?
Oh, man. I saw it on Facebook, Mr. Frodo.
Sam probably is the hero of this, but boy, he does believe in all the news he sees on Facebook.
He's just a simple guy. I mean, they all are simple.
Right. My old dad said.
Yeah. The old gaffer. So second time reading through these for me, I was listening back through in our preview, and I had misspoken because I said that I read this 6 years ago. I actually read this 8 years ago, so this is the first time in nearly 10 years. What are some things that stood out to you going back through the Fellowship again?
So for me, it's been end of high school, first of college, so 1997 or so almost 30 years. Good Lord. In the reading of it, I keep stumbling upon how similar the movie was in plenty of things. Peter Jackson was really faithful to the book in a lot of ways, adapting lines word for word over, keeping plenty of the action similar. He does make his differences, but just how similar the movie is to the book, because I'd forgotten what was all in the text of it. I was on the fence about the question of literary merit to the book. And I felt bad. I felt like the ghost of Sir Christopher Lee was like, I'm going to put a knife through your throat if you don't say this. But there's plenty of times I'm reading through it and it's like, okay, it's fun, it's fantasy, it's very descriptive, but is it literary? And there's times when I feel like I do trip upon the merit of some of the writing. But for me, I don't think it really started feeling literary until closer toward the end. Like I said, there were times to it, but it wasn't until closer to the end that I started feeling like, okay, there's a little bit of literary depth here.
I guess really when that deeper conflict starts to take place,
Yeah.
when those, I have read, and I'm sure you've read this before too, that we all know that Tolkien wrote The Hobbit for his kids, and that he had written this as kind of like a, well, this generation of my kids have grown up, and here's the story that would be told to them. And I think at the beginning of the book, you can kind of see this like slow transition from, okay, remember the Shire and the Bagginses, and oh yeah, this was our childhood, and well, this problem is a little bit more complex this time.
What a neat vehicle Frodo is for that, though, because you brought up before how similar Frodo and Bilbo feel in the beginning. And I mean, Bilbo went on his quest when he was 50, and here Frodo is waiting until he's 50 to go on his quest. And I don't know, there's some silliness and boyishness to Frodo in the beginning that evaporates later on. When we do meet up with old Bilbo in Rivendell, there's still a little bit of young Hobbit to him where he's like, oh, I reckon I'll do this and everything. No, I don't think so, Bilbo. Yeah. So there's a lot of similarity to that. So what a great way of starting. Okay, well, that was about Bilbo. We're finishing with Bilbo. Here's Frodo, who's kind of like Bilbo, but look at what trouble he gets himself into.
Yeah, that is something that I noticed with this one specifically, which I'm starting on the Two Towers today. When I get home from this, is that it seemed like some formula to it. And I wonder, though, it's right now off the top of my head, it's kind of making me think about when they came back out with The Force Awakens.
Oh, yeah.
And how it was kind of like a retread, but at the same time, I feel like that was a decent Star Wars movie, so we were kind of like, well, it was cool, you know? Yeah. Tolkien has the advantage, I think, in a novel of extending into these more complex problems, whereas in a movie you probably don't really have that.
I think you can with certain scripts and certain movie makers. I think you can.
Not with Disney.
Well, not the way they took it, right?
Yeah, no.
So, yeah, they had their chance. They had their chance to deal with it, but just like Isildur was corrupted by the ring and let us down. The Force Awakens, I remember walking out of that, kind of shrugging my shoulders and said, man, it's what I expected. Yeah. It's what I expected. I wasn't wowed by it. It was just, okay.
Yeah.
There are some things I would have changed. Like, I think a lot of us expected Finn would have been a Jedi in waiting, something like that.
Which, if you watch the Lego ones, he is.
Right? But while that one set me up with a little bit of expectation of, okay, we're following the formula, Tolkien doesn't leave it at the formula. He moves on from that.
Right, yeah.
And Rian Johnson could have not left it with the formula, but what he did with the next one, he was like, I'm just going to try to remake Empire Strikes Back my way.
Oh, you thought so?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Empire Strikes Back. See, Empire Strikes Back is such a chase movie, right? They're always chasing after the Millennium Falcon. And that's exactly what he did here.
True. Yeah.
Oh, we're going to have a battle on a snow planet here. Well, it's a salt planet here, but it's like, we're going to reveal the big bad here. Oh, the big bad is not really anybody here.
Yeah.
Like he was, I just felt trying to reinvent the wheel or not even reinvent. He was just trying to copy and paste the wheel. You could have done something different. And Tolkien does, I think by the end of this, he's got an entire fellowship of people, an ensemble cast of different conflicts, different subgroups that are going to break up eventually in Two Towers. There's a lot you can do with it.
Well, he had in The Hobbit with Thorin the temptation of the dragon sickness and things like that, which you see that with Boromir and wanting the ring, but I just think that it did seem more grown up, and I think, like you said, I did think some of the same things. I think that is very literary myself, but I did think some of the same things at the beginning of the novel, where I did feel like that Tolkien was like slowly walking towards the deep end as opposed to just throwing you in.
Yeah.
And I think that that's probably a smart decision by a smart author, because if we had been Hobbit fans in the 30s and then the Fellowship comes out and we're excited about this seemingly sequel, and then immediately it's like these like deep complex issues, I think that probably would have turned some people off maybe.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Sticking with the Star Wars comparison, I think that Star Wars fans seem to desire like more dark issues. Do you know what I mean? Like a deeper type of, I don't know how to describe it.
Do we, or does the industry, or is that a reflection of the world we're in?
I don't know. I've thought about this a lot because I've wondered if, because I mean, now the millennials are basically I feel like a driving force for the content that's being created with that specifically. And we grew up with the prequels.
You did.
I did, right.
I grew up with the OGs.
You're still a millennial.
I'm an elder millennial.
But, you know, I think those kind of, you got episode 1, which is kind of, he's a kid and playful.
Yeah.
You got this really menacing bad guy. The second one's like a love story, but then the third one is like really deep and dark.
Yeah.
And I just wonder if like my generation desires that more, because it is it is complex. I think that darker things, that it doesn't have to be that way, but I do think when you are venturing into like a darker storyline, you are starting to venture into complexity because you're having to do a lot of self-examining and things
look
like
at the original 3. And do you know, I have a hard time watching A New Hope anymore.
Oh, really?
It's so silly.
I like it.
It's so silly, though. And I know that's what it is. But out of the first 3, which is the best one?
Oh, The Empire Strikes Back.
Which is full of darkness, which is full of realizing that the people you've idolized and the people you've hated might actually be the one and the same person, right?
Right, yeah.
That the lies we tell ourselves are actually maybe a little bit closer to the truth. It is a darker story. And then you potentially lose somebody left and right. You lose your own hand and stuff like that. What even are we? Out of the Disney Star Wars content, which do you think is the best one? Because I already have my answer.
Rogue One.
Rogue One, which is one of the
Or
darker...
Andor.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is a branch of one of the darker storylines, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't really feature Jedi so much. It features the rebellion and the cruelty of the Empire and the reality of this fascist regime that we've allowed ourselves to become. Who even are we? So, yeah, I think probably our better story writing is an examination of the darknesses that we've let ourselves. You know, to kind of tie it back to Lord of the Rings, that was actually
Which is what we're talking about.
This is not Star Pod, right? Right. The very first note I had on here was, in all these years, I've never made this connection. I mean, like, I knew it, but you don't really know it until you know it. That in The Hobbit, Gollum loses his birthday present, the Precious, right?
Yeah.
He loses his present.
His quote-unquote
Bilbo.
birthday present.
Who Bilbo founded. And here in Fellowship, Bilbo begins by throwing a birthday party to give away presents.
Yeah.
And he gives away virtually everything except for his Precious, which he doesn't want to give away, even when he tells Gandalf, oh yeah, I put it in an envelope up there.
On the shelf.
I don't think it is. It's right there. So like Gollum, Bilbo doesn't want to give away his birthday present. I just never even thought about
I hadn't
that.
even thought about that either.
But it begins with his 111st birthday, and hobbits give away their presents.
Yeah. Which I was thinking last night, I hope that I live to be 111 just so I can say that I'm 111. And then I can die. I'll be okay to die. Here's some of I talked to you about some of the formula things I'd found that I feel like. Here's some things that I'd written down. I've got a hobbit takes a journey from the Shire with the party. He finds rest and respite in a home hidden in the woods. This could be Bilbo and Beor when he finds Bjorn. And then it could be Frodo and Tom Bombadil.
Yeah.
Because you've got kind of similar guys coming to save the day.
Bjorn and Tom Bombadil, which I guess I'll go ahead and say this now. I cannot stand Tom Bombadil.
I'm mixed on him. I don't understand the reasoning for Tom Bombadil.
Right.
Honestly, I've thought about the first time I read it. I wasn't expecting Tom Bombadil because I'd only seen the movies, and then to come across that part, and it was kind of like, this is an interesting guy that we've come across here. And you know, a lot of the fans are kind of wondering, why was this not in the movies? I don't know. When I read it through this time, I was kind of thinking, this is such a random side quest.
Yes.
Like, this is so random.
Yes.
And then he doesn't really appear again. other than Gandalf is kind of like, oh yeah, I know Tom Bombadil. Yeah.
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 Which-
I've known him for a long time.
Tom Bombadil is supposed to be like an aspect of God. Is that right? Like he's some aspect of creation or something like that. Tom Bombadil is completely unfazed by the ring. He picks it up and is like, "Oh, this? Yeah." Like it has no power.
Tom Bombadillo.
Okay, I'll tell you what. There are two ways I'm going to like Tom Bombadil. One, if we could have gone back in time and redone the Lord of the Rings movies, if we had gotten Robin Williams to play Tom Bombadil, I would have been sold. Two, if my good friend, our good friend, Bryce Fox were Tom Bombadil, same energy. I would love it then because I adore Bryce Fox. I'm like, okay, I could see Bryce skipping on his feet and doing Tom Bombadil, and then kicking a soccer ball. I could do that.
I am wondering like what the purpose of that was, other than like I said, maybe we're sticking to a formula because Frodo is pulled into the cave, the Barrows, and they find their swords and weapons, which is essentially what Bilbo did when he found Sting, right?
Against
He
the
found
three
it
trolls.
in the three trolls, and so I didn't know if that was just kind of Tolkien's slowly way of integrating us
does have a
into
formula.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, Bilbo first meets the elves, and then he gets to have a break at the last homely house where Elrond reads the moon runes on the map. And they do eventually get to make it to Elrond. Like, it's not in the exact same order. We get that, folks, but it's close. It's close. And they do get to find their treasure along the way, the swords, the Barrow Downs. Ooh. They go to the Misty Mountains again, too.
I've got here, that was what I was going to read next. It says, a group on a journey must travel through the perilous Misty Mountains and face bad weather that could be created by living things. So who could we be talking about? Like, right, The Hobbit, or are we talking about Lord of the Rings? Now, I will say this. The Hobbit, it's the stone giants.
Right, they're throwing rocks in a storm because they play soccer in a storm.
Right. In the Fellowship, Gimli keeps talking about, and I'm probably going to butcher the name,
Caradhras.
Caradhras, thank you. Caradhras is kind of the reasoning behind the malice towards them.
Oh, yeah.
But in the movie, you've got that scene where Saruman is standing up there commanding it, which I think is kind of cool.
There were numerous times I wrote down here differences, and Saruman has such a lessened part in the first book than he does in the first movie. He is such a motivator and an antagonist in the first movie, but in the book, I remember he shows himself off as, haha, I'm Saruman the White now, and he briefly imprisons Gandalf, and that's all you get to see of him.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the book, it's Caradhras itself. It's the mountain that doesn't want them climbing it, and it's waking up, and it's going to destroy you. Get off my back.
Right, yeah. So you've kind of got a similar thing there as well.
Yeah, and they also go under the Misty Mountains.
Right. Yeah, because they went into Goblin Town.
Yeah. Well, they go to Goblin Town, and Bilbo goes even
deep,
further into the dark. And that's a part that I always used to teach in my honors class, because I felt like in that part of the book, Tolkien kind of stumbled into really something psychoanalytical. Because in The Hobbit, he meets Gollum down there in the Underdark on a reflective pool, and Gollum, who is an anti-Hobbit, he's like the equal opposite of a Hobbit, he and Bilbo start riddling in the dark. And what an intellectual chess match back and forth. It's basically looking in the mirror and having an argument or a battle of wits with your anti-self. And the only thing that saves Bilbo is not any stratagem or wit. He accidentally cheats. And he's just like, oh, well, what have I got in my pocket here? That's not fair. That's not fair. And he gets chased out by something deep, deep, deep in the dark. But here in Lord of the Rings Fellowship, they do the same exact thing where they're going through the bottom of Moria and, in a way, pass through a goblin town of sorts. Yeah. And then get chased out by something deep in the dark.
You could argue that Gandalf goes against anti-Gandalf with the Balrog.
Ooh, that's true too.
Because it's like Legolas is when that's in the. There's a quote where he sees the Balrog and he goes, "Ah!" He's like, "Oh, Balrog!" on.
Legolas is a different character in this book. Have you noticed that? Yeah. He is a different guy than Orlando Bloom.
I like how when they are on Carteros and he goes to like Boromir and Aragorn's like, we're gonna go check this because we're men and we can push through the snow. And Legolas is just kind of sitting there watching him, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna go check too. And he runs on the snow, and it says when he runs by, he waves at him.
Yeah, he even takes his little shoes off and then runs by them.
Where was the Legolas? What do your elf eyes see?
Oh, right. So Gandalf, I am not a Tolkien scholar. I am not nearly on the level of Stephen Colbert or any of these people out there. So audience, if I say this wrong, forgive me. He's trying. Gandalf as a wizard is not a human, right? He's one of the Maiar.
Yeah.
Who are kind of sort of like angels that were put on this world of Middle Earth by the creators. Maiar are kind of like angel figures.
Yeah, I've always kind of felt the wizards were almost like a super elf class.
Okay.
Yeah, from reading the Silmarillion, they're almost like guardians. They came over with the elves when the elves left the old world to Middle Earth. The wizards kind of came as guardians to kind of keep watch over them a little bit.
But the Balrog is also a fallen Maiar, right? Isn't it kind of like I'm pretty sure that I read somewhere that it's like a fallen Maiar or a corrupted one. So when you said the Gandalf versus the anti-Gandalf, yeah, in a way it is.
I didn't know that.
Well, and he, jumping ahead, when he has that standoff at the bridge of Khazad-dûm, he yells at it, right? Oh, what's the line? Because it was so good, it was like right out of the movie, right? He says...
What does he say? Because it is, yeah. Oh. It's like word for word.
Dude, we can't not say it right.
Well, while you're looking for that, I noticed in the book, the Balrog in the movie is so huge. And it didn't seem like in the book that he's described as being this big, large, monstrous figure. And so I do wonder if Tolkien had intended him to be, in the size and shape of a man, like you're talking about, or a humanoid figure. But I'm thinking right now, like, what would be more terrifying, to see this huge Balrog show up as depicted in the movie, or to see this like fallen angel type of thing that's like burning around? And I don't know. I think that would almost be more terrifying to come across that.
I thought it was great in Peter Jackson's movie.
Oh, yes.
Have you ever seen the Rankin and Bass, Ralph Bakshi cartoon?
No, I've got plans on, because this is going to be a summer of Tolkien, folks, because I'm going to watch that too, and then I also want us to watch the anime, and talk about it as well. But it's on my checklist.
The Ralph Bakshi one, they rotoscoped it, so it's like they motion captured people and then did cartoons on top of it.
I've seen how like Disney did that, and you can tell by the animation.
You can totally tell.
Yeah.
The Balrog is so unintimidating. It's just a guy in a suit going, "Roar," that kind of thing. And it's so bad. But in the movie, I remember thinking, oh, God, yeah, this is... But now in my head, because the reader is always going to make it worse in your head without seeing it. If I'm imagining that I'm in the Underdark, having to face off against a fallen angel of just pure darkness and fire, shadow wreathed in flame... I'm pooping my pants, man. Like, I don't want to have to look at that.
I feel like if you were in that situation and that large Balrog, it's almost like it's so big it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
Where when you turn and look and there is that like burning shadowy figure there with his whip, and he is like the same as you, that would be... Because I think you're almost like, okay, this is a demon. We are up against a demon.
And poor Gandalf is already tired.
Oh, I know.
That part.
Yeah.
And he says
he
it out
even
loud.
mentions that,
And he says, and I'm already weary.
Yeah.
There are numerous foreshadowing moments when they're going through and they see that there's red fire, there's red light between the columns. And Peter Jackson does a good job of showing that the goblins skitter out of the way because you can see this thing growling behind there. And then when it finally reveals itself, you're just like, oh my gosh, how do you get past this?
Yeah.
Well, if it is Gandalf versus anti-Gandalf, and if he's like an angel versus a fallen angel, when he sees it, but Gandalf stood firm. You cannot pass. The orc stood still, and a dead silence fell. He says, I am a servant of the secret fire, wielder of the flame of Arnor. You cannot pass. The dark fire will not avail you, flame of Udun. Go back to the shadow. We all know those lines. So what is Arnor and Udun? Do you know?
Anor, is that not, that's the original place that they came from, is it not?
It's basically the sun.
Yeah, okay.
When he says, I'm a keeper of the secret fire, flame of Arnor, he says, I'm literally wielding holy sunlight at you. Like, I'm going to kill you with God's own sunlight. Well, what is he if he's flame of Udun? Udun is just a variation of the subterranean fortress that Morgoth had. So it's like a perverted, hellish underworld fire. So it's fire versus fire, but it's God's holy fire versus hellish underworld fire. And you can't beat this.
Yeah. That's so good. You cannot pass.
That bothered me. As a I shouldn't say grammarian, as a teacher of grammar, in my head, it's always been Ian McKellen's line, you shall not pass. Grammatically, I think that makes more sense because shall is a verb indicative of determination. When we write it into our laws that Congress shall make no laws abridging you of your personal freedoms, why don't we say Congress will make no laws?
Well, that doesn't sound right.
It doesn't sound right because that's just a statement of fact.
Yeah.
Congress will not do it. It's not going to happen. But if I say Congress shall not, then I'm implying there's legal guarantees that this is going to be forced. They shall not be allowed to do this. We're going to fight back if they do. So if Gandalf stands there and tells him, you will not pass, then that's just a statement of fact. You're too big and fat. You're going to break the bridge. You're not going to come over. But if he says, you shall not pass, it's so much more forceful than you cannot pass. He's saying, if I say you shall not, I ain't going to let this happen.
Yeah. Do you think, though, I'm thinking, though, if I am saying you cannot pass, Gandalf's tired and weary, if that's like a desperation, like you cannot come through. Do you see what I'm saying?
I still want to hear Ian McKellen saying you shall not.
I like Ian McKellen saying, but I kind of think I like it better with him yelling the you cannot pass. Yeah. Which I wonder what the thinking behind that was. I wonder if that was Ian McKellen changing that or if Peter Jackson changed that.
I don't know.
And I mean, I'm sure they had these same conversations of which one sounds more assertive. How do we want to depict this character?
Yeah.
So
it generates so much more sympathy when I see Gandalf in this scene because there's times throughout the narrative when I just had a different take on Gandalf. In the movie, he shows up as old family friend, and Frodo hugs him from the start and is like, oh, keep your secrets then, whatever. But that's not how he shows up in the book. He shows up at Bilbo's with a couple of dwarves, and everybody's real secret about it. Frodo doesn't even talk to him. He's just like, I mean, it's Gandalf, but he doesn't talk to him. And then along the way, Gandalf is somebody that we were desperately waiting for to show up. But I don't know, he's kind of provocative whenever Peregrine Took's around. He's got some snarky comment for you, Pippin, every time you open your mouth. And then there's times when it's like there's almost funny things that he says. But here in the Underdark, he is exhausted. And he's doing everything he can to keep the light going and hold them together. They get cornered in the tomb of Mazar Bul, where Balin's tomb is. And they get assaulted, and they're like, here, let's block all the doors. No, that's the mistake the dwarves made, that they blocked all the doors, and they got cornered in here and killed. Keep that east door open. Whatever, we have to get out one of these ways. Nobody's thinking of that, but Gandalf is. And he's just so exhausted with having to hold this. He's holding this thing together with his fingertips right now, you know?
Well, and I think Ian McKellen does a really good job in the movie of kind of giving like a knowing when Frodo chooses to go under the mountain.
Yeah.
You can tell Gandalf is kind of like, I know what's under here, and I do not want to
But in the book, that was different. Did you notice that? Whose idea was it to go over Caradhras in the movie? In the movie.
Was it Gandalf's?
It was Gandalf's
Yeah,
idea.
Yeah.
Because in the movie, he knows the dwarves have dug too deep. There's bad things down there. In the book, no, Gandalf doesn't want to go over the mountain. It's Aragorn's idea. So we have to abandon the mountain he's trying to kill us. Gandalf's idea is that we should just go through Moria. I've been through there before. It's a more direct shot. He knows it's going to be dark, but we should just do this. And Gimli loves the idea.
yeah.
He's like, oh, well, I'll finally get to reconnect with Balin. Oh, yeah, this would be great. We'll reconnect the Dwarven kingdoms. But yeah, that was a big difference. A subtle one, but a big difference, I thought, because it does indicate motivation. Like, there's deep, dark things down in Moria right now.
Gandalf is one of, if not my favorite literary character of all time. I just think that he's just so well done. In some of the things that we were talking about, because he just kind of vanishes from the scene, and you kind of always in the back of your mind when they're going through some of these issues, you're thinking, where is Gandalf? And then he always shows up just at the right time. The kids got Lego Hobbit. And so I was kind of showing them some of the scenes. I know I had talked about how I'm not ready for them to watch Lord of the Rings yet, but the Hobbit movies are so poorly done that I just kind of don't really care with that. The first one I think is really good, actually. I really do. So I was showing them the troll scene, and I was trying to explain to them because they had like connected with Gandalf immediately on the video game. And I was trying to explain to them, like, Gandalf has been gone. And they're like, where is Gandalf? And it seems like Bilbo, this is it. And then what does he say? And the dawn shall take you. Yeah. And he cracks the stone open. I just love how he shows up just at the right time. And I don't know. We've talked about a little bit of the religious aspect to it. I do think that that's something that I have noticed reading through it again, is that I think Tolkien does wrap faith into it.
Oh yeah,
and,
absolutely he does.
Gandalf, I think, is a Christ-like, godlike figure for sure.
Yeah, that standing on the bridge of Khazad-dûm, fighting against hell. It's light versus dark, and when he slams his staff against the bridge. I don't remember this happening in the movie. I just never paid attention to the details in the billion and times that I've seen it. But the staff breaks. It shatters. So if we didn't know something bad was going to happen to Gandalf before then, this right here should be our big warning. This is self-sacrifice. Your Christ-like figure's surrendering himself right now. But when the whip takes him, it happens within just a few sentences. And he's like fumbling at the cliff, looks at him and says, "Fly, you fools," and then drops. And it's suddenly over with.
Yeah.
That really had to have been a gut punch to read that the first time.
That's what we were talking about.
Right?
Yeah, if you read that and you had read The Hobbit, and then there goes Gandalf. Yeah,
like there's your Christ-like figure right there. This is the guy that you believed. If we can only get to him, things will be safe.
Everything's gonna be fine.
Not now.
He's
not
gone.
now.
Yeah.
The Fellowship broke right there.
And then Gimli's like, "Let me go look at this pond real fast."
How insensitive can you be, man? Like, we are dying here. I wrote that down, that when they get out of the Misty Mountains and they get into Dimrill Dale on the other side, it says that it's bright and sunny, it's breezy clouds, and it's 1 hour past noon. So we're in the fullness of daytime. But we just watched Gandalf die. And it was like a half hour, 15 minutes ago. Like, we sit down and some of us are crying sitting down. Some of us are standing and grieving. Like, this just happened. It's like, man, if you just watched your favorite dog or favorite family member or somebody die, and 15 minutes ago, and now you're walking out into broad daylight and everybody's just living their lives. I hate days like that, because it's like, how can we ever be normal again? Yeah. And then we start our march, and Gimli, oh, wait, look, there's the Pillar of Durin. We should go over here and look at this real quick. I'll never get a chance to see it again. Dude, I really don't care about your side quest. Let's go take a picture influencer moment right now. Can we just, I'm grieving here. Yeah. I also thought that was, again, we've read The Gunslinger, and when Jake falls under the mountains And the gunslinger has his choice of, do I go or do I save Jake? Jake surrenders himself. But it's all, I don't know, it almost feels in a more petulant kind of way because he knows the gunslinger is going to betray me. He's going to want to do this anyway.
Yeah.
Just go. And Jake throws himself down saying, go then, there are other worlds than these. And so he just kind of surrenders. But Gandalf knows, don't try to save me. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. You have to get out.
Yeah.
And it matters to me so much more because he's like, get out. You're stupid
Yeah.
if you come after me.
Yeah, Jake does kind of like, well, you're going to kill me anyways.
Yeah,
And-
but he's a little boy. He's
Yeah.
a little boy. And
Yeah.
Gandalf is by far older than that.
One thing that I did notice, since we're kind of getting them into, getting into Lothlorien, one thing I noticed this time that I hadn't really picked up on the first time I read it, and I don't know that the movie is able to depict this, is when Frodo's getting closer to the determined time to leave Hobbiton, it starts to talk about how he says, like, oh, these are the best. I've been having the best days. Like, the sun is out. It's beautiful. And then in Lothlorien, when it's getting about time for them to leave again, and even in Rivendell, it's kind of like, these days are beautiful and they're long and the sun is out and it's perfect. And I was thinking, is the ring changing some of these like perceptions of things because it knows Frodo's desire is to take it to Mount Doom, but Frodo's desire is to destroy it. So I just wondered if it was trying to get, because that was one thing that even Elrond was saying was like, we can't keep it here.
Yeah.
It's going to get found eventually.
Yeah.
We cannot, even in Rivendell, we can't keep it here. It will be discovered. And so I just didn't know if the ring was trying to pull and slow their journey down, even if it was enough to give the Nazgul a chance to track it down.
That's an interesting take. So the ring has a will of its own, and it will deceive you. It will use you as long as it wants, and then it will ditch you, just like it did Isildur, right? And just like it did Gollum as well. It had enough of Gollum, and when Bilbo comes along, it's like, here's my way out. It intentionally loses itself so that Bilbo can find it. It never loses itself from Frodo. True, he does wear it on a chain, and that makes it more difficult to lose, but it never intentionally loses itself from Frodo. Part of me wonders if the ring isn't just fine and dandy staying with Frodo because it knows that you want to destroy me, but this is a straight shot right back to Barad-dûr.
Sure, yeah.
Like, we're going to get there. Probably my fastest route back is staying with this hobbit. I kind of took it as when you get ready to go do this trip you don't want to do and you start appreciating so much more the summer vacation around you. Summer is always hotter and brighter in August, right when I have to go back to work. And fall break is always so much nicer
so
right
pleasant.
before I have to go back to work. Like, you notice these things that you're soon to lose and they're never going to be. So it's like, part of you is seeing it through a different lens because I don't want to leave.
Yeah. That just reminds me of Friday we went to the beach and it was our last day at the beach. And Mary Beth said that because there was not a cloud in the sky. The breeze was like there, but not too heavy. The waves were strong, but not so strong. And Mary Beth was like, why are the best beach days our last days here? And that's like you're saying, because you know what is.
And that little bit of grief sitting on your heart of, I don't want to have to go.
And you sit there and let the waves hit your ankles a couple times, right? And then you know, once I turn around,
that's my last time.
I'm not going to look at this for maybe another year. And if something this is going to be morbid. I think about that a lot. Like, I think about if I turn around, if something happened to me in a year, this could be the last time I ever lay eyes on the ocean, you know? So that is something to think about.
I think thoughts like that when April and I rent a cabin for our anniversary, because it's always fall, October, Smoky Mountains, beautiful time to be up there. And I look forward to that year by year by year. And when we get to the cabin, it's always like, oh, it's the beginning of summer break. It's the beginning of fall break. It's the beginning of. So there's so much excitement and joy. It's the beginning. And then when we get ready to leave, I'm looking around, taking pictures and stuff, and I'm thinking, this will be the last time I ever stand in this cabin. This is my last time standing in this room. But I also think stupid thoughts like that. I was at Big R here in town the other day, which is like, I don't know, it's like Rural King or something like that. And I was going through the aisles, and I was thinking, if you don't go down that aisle, you'll never have touched that aisle, and you're never coming back to this building. Jason, it's an aisle of tubes. What do you need? Nothing. But those weird thoughts, right?
It's because you're slowly turning into Hank Hill. You want to look at all the hardware parts in the hardware store.
If I don't buy that propane, I'll never have it. Yeah, it's a weird thought to think of what you're soon to leave when Rivendell is just so
perfect.
Man, if we could stay here. But in the road, whenever they find that hidden cache and he doesn't want to have to leave, it's that oasis. You don't want to have to leave the oasis, but the oasis isn't the end goal.
Hemmingford Home.
Yeah. They don't want to have to leave.
Yeah. Even Boulder itself is kind of like an oasis. Yeah.
So we talked, last summer was Summer with the Stand, and we've talked about how we've seen numerous parallels.
Yeah.
And I didn't think about it, but yeah, Mother Abigail at Hemmingford Home was kind of like Elrond at Rivendell.
I think she's Gandalf.
I agree with that. But finally getting to meet her there and be hosted at Hemmingford Home was like meeting Elrond at Rivendell. And here you get to wake up and have some food and fellowship, and we get to sit here. She also has that little prophecy for them at the end of the book when she sends them on their quest. And I swear, when I was reading Elrond say it, that this will be the fellowship, and there shall be 9, and of them, I was like, God, that's like Mother Abigail making her pronouncement. You will go this very day, and the clothes on your back.
Yeah, I thought I had made some notes about The Stand and the similarities between it, but I think we've probably talked about those in the previous episodes.
Yeah.
If you want to go back,
you should.
They're in the timeline. The Stand check-ins from last summer's read. But I think that was one reason you and I talked about choosing this book or this series is because not only is it, I was like so happy to read this again, but also it parallels really well with what we read last summer. But yeah, there were a lot of, even when I was reading Eyes of the Dragon, I was like, this is from The Stand, and this part from The Stand is from Lord of the Rings. And so we've got like this like weird synergy going on here.
But again, Tolkien has to be literary in some degree because look at all of the world that his work has influenced. And when I say that literary world, the stories and everything, the way of thinking that his writing has influenced.
Yeah.
If in Jason Crockett's life, my favorite book is The Stand, and you cannot tell me that Stephen King was not like influenced, molded by The Fellowship of the Ring. Like you can't tell me that he wasn't.
Well, okay. So you and I, we talk about this about every other episode, like what is literary and what's not. And I think, like I said, I think, what was it that we were talking about where I said, I think that we've kind of deduced more or less how to determine that from our point of view. That doesn't mean that it's the correct point of view. But is there complexity? Yeah. And you and I talked about how this book like gets more and more complex as it goes, especially talking about, Gandalf running into the Balrog, things like that. Boromir's character is somebody I want to talk about. Probably the most complex character in the book, maybe. Yeah. I'm just thinking like, I've not read the Harry Potter series, but I know that you have said that you don't feel like that's necessarily literary.
Right.
I mean, what would be your argument because that is like, these two are tied together, I think, just because they're wizards.
Oh, so why Harry Potter is or is not?
What would be your argument for? Again. Because I think that, in my opinion, I was thinking about this when I was reading it. Tolkien we talked about the songs and how we don't really know how to sing the songs, and you have this urge to skip through them, and then Bilbo or Frodo is always reciting a poem or something like that. And I was just thinking, like, Tolkien's really kind of ingrained a culture with this. Like, these songs are probably necessary because he's building such a deep and complex world, and this makes you feel like, oh yeah, that's an old folk tale, or well, this is an old poem we used to say at Bag End, and well, let me tell you about this little piece of lore. Or even Aragorn, which I thought was kind of odd, says that like little prophecy about himself. I don't know. I think that, to me, Lord of the Rings is as literary as it gets, honestly, because of, we've got the little beginning and the meanders, but when you get to the meat of this book, there are complexity things. The writing, to me, is deep. You have to pay attention to it while you're reading it. He's so descriptive of what's going on. The characters are complex. I would argue right now that the hobbits are not the most complex as of right now. Frodo's kind of just taken the ring and gone. But you do have Boromir.
Yeah.
And you do have Gandalf. You do have Aragorn, whose character compared to the movie is so different. Because in the movie he's like reluctant to mention who he is.
Yes.
And in the book he's kind of like,
no shame at all.
I am ready to accept my destiny.
Yeah.
But I think that that's like a complex thing there as well with his character. Oh, but that he's willing to step into that destiny. But he's also humble enough that, well, Butterbur calls me Strider, and he's like, that's an insult, but I'm Strider to him, and I think he's like, there's enough humility in him that he's okay. I don't have to, he can call me whatever he wants to, because I know who I am in my core. And I think that that's like a complex character to me. So I don't know. I'm just a lot of stream of consciousness here. But to me, there is this like self-examining of what would you do with the ring? Randy Cribbs and I talked about that with his novel, which the vessel in it is so similar to the ring. Like if you had the ability, all I have to do is drink water from this once a day, and I'll have life eternal, unlimited power with this ring. What do you do? And it's easy for us to sit here and say, I would not do that. But if it's right there, do you know what I'm saying? So just some really deep, complex issues.
I know, like if I'm asked that question, I think that literary, quote unquote, comes down to the craft of it.
Yeah.
Can a fantasy be literary? Sure. I think horror, whatever, can be literary. But that's all in the building of it. It doesn't matter whether it's a story about wizards or not. It's all in the building of it. And I think that I have been so coached up to expect that quality literary writing needs to be tightly packed sentences of metaphor and description, and that what Fitzgerald can do with 50,000 words needs to be what most writers can do with 50,000 words. And that's not fair. That's not true. That's just not true. But Harry Potter doesn't do that. Harry Potter does not do that. I think it's great young adult reading, whatever, but I just don't think that it's quality literary on par with any. I just don't think it is. When you look at the storytelling of it, there's just so much flabbiness to the sentences, but not in good quality writing. And again, I do think at the beginning of the Fellowship, it feels a little bit more loosey-goosey. It just feels like we're telling a fantasy story. But later, it becomes so much more compounded with nuances. When they're getting ready to when they're getting ready to enter Lorien for the first time, and they're on the outside looking in, Aragorn says a line in Elvish that it doesn't tell what he means.
I noticed that.
But he stands there and he sighs and he says this line, and the very first word is Arwen.
I saw that too.
Well, knowing what we know, I'm like, oh, I know why this matters so much to you. But without nuance like that, it could be anything. He could have just smiled while going in there. Okay. I think a writer who's not being literary is going to have loosey-goosey sentences like Aragorn smiled before going in there, as if he was thinking about a woman he once upon a time. He doesn't have to. No,
Yeah.
don't do that. We want tightly packed sentences of meaning and description. And
Let us read through the law.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't walk us to it. Let us walk to it ourselves. You fall through the page. You talk about that a lot.
Oh,
Stephen
yeah,
King
yeah.
says you fall into this.
yes.
It is not hard to get immersed into this.
Right.
It might be hard, especially if you're someone. I know I talk about my brother every now and then picking up a book, and it's like he's picked up a 600-page book, and it's well, let's start with like a bond or something, you know. If you're just picking up a book and you've not really read a lot, then it's going to be hard to get started. It's going to be hard to get started because he's so descriptive. But once you get that stamina up, get your mind into it, it is not hard to lose yourself in these stories.
Tolkien, in my copy, which we have the same copy,
Yeah, we
Tolkien
do,
in the
heck yeah.
beginning insists that this story, the 3 books, the one big, was not influenced by the telling of World War II.
Oh.
He says it was not.
He also says that he is against allegory as well.
So I don't think you're being truthful. I think you're not being a truth teller. Randall Flagg says that truth tellers kind of hunker down. We don't need to sit in these chairs. So let's hunker down and tell some truth. I feel like there's multiple parallels to whatever's going on in the world of 1947 and 52 and stuff that we can see are the repercussions of World War II, and we see it in here. This is also a story of addiction. And Peter Jackson's movies, I think, capture that really well. Gollum is absolutely addicted to the ring. He's not just, I want the power of it. He is absolutely addicted to it. And Gandalf says that in the book, that Bilbo will feel better. Like he knows this is wearing me out, that I am spread too thin. And he knows I want rid of this awful burden, but you can't give it up, can you? Because you keep reaching for it. You keep reaching for it. It's like people saying, oh, I know this social media is such a time suck. And how come you keep reaching for it? Because it's an addiction. It has carved new pathways in your brain. It is a very tempting force, too. So it's a story of temptation and redemption. And Gandalf says that we are to pity Gollum. And in the movie, Frodo learns, oh, Gollum's been following us. In the book, he keeps seeing him but doesn't realize that that's Gollum following me.
What's that log?
Why are those big googly eyes back there? I don't know. But in the movie, he says how he loathes him and wishes Bilbo had killed him. And Gandalf says, no, pity is what saved him.
He says that in the book also, yeah.
Pity is the thing that should be respected here because it demonstrates so much more character on behalf of you that we are all deserving of punishment. None of us is without sin, but that we respect, you deserve a chance at redemption too. He doesn't know that Gollum will ever get it, but he says, there may be something for Gollum later on. Which I think Gollum's like trash can man. I think
I
Gollum
think
in
he
the
is
stand,
too.
right?
Yes.
In the movies, that line is developed so much because Frodo sees a parallel between himself and Gollum. I'm becoming this thing. And if we don't have pity for Gollum, you don't have pity for me. He is stabbed by the Morgul blade, which leaves a lasting wound in him that I could be turned to the dark side just as easily as anybody. And I know by the end of it, Boromir, when Frodo says, well, I just need an hour to think this through and I'll make my decision, Boromir's watching him and steps off. And like a friend, puts his hand on his shoulder and is like, let me help you. I can do this. And goes off onto his tangent. I would wield the ring. I would summon everybody to my banners. I would be a great king. Dude, you had said, that this whole temptation of the ring, I would never admit that I deserve that ring. Because Jason Crockett, just like Gandalf, just like Boromir, I would use it for good.
Oh, yeah.
I would wipe America clean of its corruption. But what would I become? I would become evil incarnate. All of my good works would be turned to wickedness. There is no using the ring for a good purpose. You can lie to yourself all you want, but it would never.
Well, Galadriel even says,
Yeah.
she says the same thing that Gandalf says, is I would use it for good. But she says, basically, I would kill Sauron, but what you would do is replace one Dark Lord for another Dark Lord.
Yeah, a queen who's bright and terrible as the dawn. There was a great. I loved Twilight Zone, and there was a great episode of Twilight Zone where it was in the Civil War, at the end of the Civil War, and the Confederacy is just getting shellacked left and right. And this guy is watching this town that has a bunch of Yankee troops in it, and it goes suddenly silent. It's like just dead quiet. And he's like, we got to get down there and investigate. And he finds there's this whole platoon of Yankees that are frozen. They're just standing there like statues. And this old man reveals himself and says, I done it. I read out of this here book. And he says, it's a book that the devil give me. And it's full of black magic and spells, and I can teach it to you, Johnny Reb. You can save the Confederacy. You can turn the whole Yankee army to stone right now. And he is so tempted, but he knows if I do that, I'm joining the Legion of the Damned. I'm joining Satan. Like, I might save my country, but I would replace a president for the devil. And what are you going to become? Well, that's taking the ring, that I could save Minas Tirith, but at what cost?
Yeah. Boromir, I think, is probably in this story the most complex character in this book. I was going to say, too, really quick, I was just thinking about this. We were talking about how it seems like this kind of starts off maybe slow in a sense, but, I'm wondering if it starts off like that because Tolkien had the vision of this just being one book.
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of like, okay, yeah, it's the introduction of any book. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if maybe that has something to do with it. I put here on my note, though, for Boromir, Sean Bean nails Boromir.
Yes, he does.
Because he's very much this guy that's like, well, that's not how we do it in Gondor. Or he says, well, you say that about Gondor, but have you ever actually been to Gondor? Things like that. And I was like, we all know that guy who's like, well, my way, the way that we do it is better. Or
Boromir also, we got to admit, he's got such older brother energy. I mean, he knows he's his dad's favorite right now. And he's been Joe College, and he's been all of this. Like, he can do no wrong. Boromir really doesn't mean to be a jerk, but he also knows I'm the leader of this pack, and I've been coached that way, so why wouldn't I just keep doing this? So yeah, he's kind of set up for that too.
He's also kind of like popular kid at small high school, goes to college and thinks he'll be popular guy at big college, and then you meet like Aragorn and Gandalf, and then even Frodo, and you're just kind of like,
this kid, he's like 2 feet tall. Why is he better than me? I should have that ring.
Elf. What?
So one of the things I definitely wanted to bring up was like some differences that are in here, and or even just details. Like, he does such a great job at world building that early on, Elrond and they're talking about, well, this is going on over here, this is going on over here. Rohan, we used to expect horses from Rohan, but they've quit doing that. Blah blah blah. They've actually been selling horses to Mordor
as tribute.
And when I read that, I was like, oh God. Rohan? Why would Rohan? And then I remembered who's actually running the show in Rohan right now, and I thought, oh my gosh, Tolkien is just setting us up. We're going to find out, but we don't know that yet.
But even that, Boromir's like, that's not true. I walked through Rohan freely, and nothing ever happened. And even Gandalf's kind of like, that's whatever, Boromir, but that's not what's happening. He kind of has that moment where he's fed up with hearing from Boromir about stuff like that, because he's like, well, that's just not true anymore, Boromir.
Yeah. When toward the end that they are letting Frodo make his decision, should we go to Minas Tirith or what? The rest of the Fellowship is kind of deciding, well, what do we wish would happen? And Legolas says, well, he gets to make his decision, but I kind of wish we'd just go to Minas Tirith. Legolas, you think we're going to win the war by taking the ring to Minas Tirith? Like, Legolas, you really think we should do that? And it's Gimli who checks him on it. And in the movie, I know that there's such a love-hate relationship between Gimli and Legolas. But in the book here, Gimli speaks with a little bit more wisdom. And he says, I wish we would go to Minas Tirith too. But, blah, 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 blah. I wouldn't really do that. So if Frodo chooses it, I'm going to go to Mordor with him.
But at first,
and then Legolas changes his mind. He's like, well, I would too.
I thought it was interesting, though, because at first Gimli says, I want to go to Minas Tirith because Elrond told us that we were not bound to see this to the end. And he was basically said, I want to go to Minas Tirith so I can stay there and you guys can keep going. Yeah. But then he kind of starts to like talk himself out of it as well because he starts to lay out that logic.
It's a wise way of handling it, and Jason Crockett would not have thought that way. I would have looked at Legolas and been like, no, dummy. Like, this is obviously the path that we should have gone. We would do this. But Gimli's so much more patient with him there, and he's like, I'm going to agree with you, but let me walk you through why we're both wrong and we need to do this. And I'm just thinking, oh, you're so much smarter than I am.
Because he got touched by those elves at Lothlorien, and now he's one of them.
We're all elf different because of
Gimli. That. He asked for 3 strand of hair. If I could just have a strand of your hair.
I had forgotten that. I mean, I knew that in The Hobbit, Gandalf steps away from the group every now and then to go deal with the necromancer. And that's whatever subline in The Hobbit, but it's world building because now here, that's actually the big problem. That happened in Dol Guldur, which is part of Mirkwood. And that's actually where Sauron's darkness came back. So if the White Council had not driven him out of Dol Guldur, would that have been his new capital?
I don't know.
Because the tower is rebuilt in Mordor. Barad-dûr is rebuilt over here. Would he have drawn all of these forces to Mirkwood and just made Mirkwood his new capital? I don't know.
I'm going to say no. I'm going to think that he would have made his way back to Mordor.
You got to say it with the correct trill to it.
No, you were supposed to be like, don't mention that
Don't
word.
say that name here. You can't say that. I did, and that was another thing too. If we're talking about foreshadowing and things, Tolkien definitely does that in here. There's a part where Frodo is getting all skinny on the trip, and he's tightening his belt, and he says, "Oh, I hope I don't become a wraith." And Strider looks at him and says, "Don't say that." Wink, wink. Guess what's going to possibly happen to you all? That's great.
I think, and now I may be mistaken, so please forgive me, especially if those of you have come to, I feel like that we are big Lord of the Rings fans, but I do know that there are those of you out there who know the intricacies much better than we do. So if I get this wrong, I do apologize. And you've read The Hobbit multiple times. I've read The Hobbit, I think, twice. I want to think that the White Council identifying that was Sauron. I know in The Hobbit we hear about the necromancer, but I think the White Council event actually takes place in the Silmarillion.
Really?
Yeah, because I know that it doesn't take place in The Hobbit, does it?
We never see it.
Right.
No.
Okay. So
we only hear about it in Fellowship.
Okay. So I have read the Silmarillion, for those of you out there. I've only read it once. But the White Council, that does take place in the Silmarillion. And that was something that I did see on some behind the scenes of The Hobbit, was that Peter Jackson and Christopher Lee, because we know how big of a Tolkien fan he was, that they both kind of constructed that White Council in The Hobbit from the Silmarillion.
Right.
So, and in the Silmarillion, they identified that this necromancer is Sauron. So just kind of a little trivia there.
I like, if we're talking about world building, something you don't really get in the movie is that Saruman, among the 5 wizards, Saruman's the ring lore champion. That he's the one who has studied all of these rings. And he is intentionally lying to the White Council about Sauron. Of, oh no, it can't be possible. Oh no, the One Ring is lost. It's in the bottom of the sea. We're never going to find it again. He is intentionally lying because he wants to get the ring for himself. And
Right.
his goal is not going to be to ally with Sauron. His goal is, I'm going to destroy Sauron
Right.
and become the new Sauron.
Yeah. I also think that it was interesting too. We were talking about world building, and I thought it was interesting how Gandalf is kind of like talking through some of that when he's like telling Frodo where he's been and stuff. And at the I'm sorry, not Frodo, but the council, the meeting that they had, and I thought it was interesting that Gandalf kind of says, "I should have seen it then, but I was blind to my loyalty to Saruman,
Right.
and that I should have seen it then, and now it all makes sense that this was bound to happen."
Yeah.
That was something that I was watching last night, and I'm glad that you brought this up because I wanted to mention this, and I was going to make a note, but my phone was like on the other side of the room. Whenever Gandalf reveals to the council that Saruman has basically turned against them, I thought Elrond said something really interesting because they're all distraught, but Elrond just kind of sitting there and he's like, "Yeah, this is bad news." And then he says, "But we've had many friends turn to the dark side during my lifetime." And we know how long the elves live, and that Elrond was at the original fight with Isildur. And I was just thinking about, you were talking about Tolkien saying, "I didn't write this about the war and things like that." But when you think about the things that had happened, the things that had gone on, Germany's going through their Nazi problem, and Italy's going through its Mussolini and all these things. And I was just thinking, I was wondering if Tolkien was kind of making a comment like, if you live long enough, or we want to look at history from our viewpoint right now and say, "Oh my gosh, Saruman this is the worst news ever." But then when you look at Elrond, who has like a like a 3,000, 2,000 year picture of history, he's just kind of like, "Yeah, it's happened before. It'll happen again." And I just wondered if that was Tolkien kind of commenting on, hey, history, things are gonna, the good guys are gonna turn into the bad guys at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's foreshadowing to that when we're looking around at Hobbiton and Gandalf, and even Frodo kind of has an inkling of what might happen if war came here. And Gandalf knows it'll even reach Hobbiton, that, the end of all of this, you might find Hobbiton absolutely ruined. Imagining war coming to your own doorstep. Like, I'm looking out the window at Cookeville right now, and it's Cookeville, and it's Tennessee Tech campus. This is a safe campus. But just like in Prophet Song, if our country too could slide so easily into civil war, if like last summer we were talking about Champ Ferguson, and can you imagine civil war happened right here in our backyard? If it happened then, could it happen again? How am I supposed to go about with my daily life when everything's ravaged, when we're fighting for water, when you can't even trust your neighbors? You guys are for this? Like, I don't know that I want them in my yard. Like, you just feel betrayed by people. That could so easily once again happen here. When Frodo goes off by himself and Boromir comes after him, Frodo puts on the ring and ditches him, climbs to the top of the hill and sits by himself with the ring still on. And it says that he's seeing things through mist, and he knows that it's the ring warping things right now, because he kind of exists in this weird half zone. And that while there, he starts seeing visions of war, of terrible things happening to Hobbiton, of things happening here, of Lorien burning, of seeing war come to all of these places. And that's Tolkien again thinking, it could easily happen here all over. He's a guy who grew up in England. And what is London? But it was originally founded by Romans who brought their own conflict over and established a base. And then you've got conflict with Celts, and you've got conflict with Nazis, and you've got conflict with the French, and you've got conflict with whatever. It has happened before. It's happening again. It just, on a long enough timeline, you see that. And we do take the peace of Hobbiton for granted. But I think it also makes it so much more sacred that knowing these things could so easily happen, they become that much more precious to us, and we need to protect them. So just because your candidate's not winning the next election doesn't mean you should say, well, we'll burn this country down. We'll start a civil war if my guy don't win. Civil war was never anything that we should be excited about.
Right, yeah.
It's, let alone the disruption to whatever, it makes so much chaos and death out of everything for everyone. It ruins life. I would be a liar if I didn't say that I didn't periodically think about that. Like, prices are getting so high, and Americans can get so angry, and the media stirs us up against each other, and we have politicians and a trillionaire now who like stir us against each other. When does something happen to just hit the reset button? And when I teach my class, my senior class, I often ask them, like, is America the preeminent power of the world? And if we are now, we weren't always that way. What brought us to that point? And when do we lose it? And if we've already lost it, do we ever gain it back? Who does it shift to? Because on a long enough timeline, the Romans aren't in charge anymore.
Right.
The British aren't in charge anymore. The Mongols aren't in charge. And the Americans won't be in charge. So how does things change? It becomes that much more precious to have this sacred life that's around us.
That's true. That's really good. I was about to ruin it because
Well,
I was
no,
going
do
to
it.
do, when Frodo was at the thing, he also heard the, I see you.
He does. He feels the eye watching him. Okay, I know we've rambled a lot, but dang, Tolkien has some really creepy parts.
Well,
to
yeah,
this.
you wanted to talk about that, and you're the horror guy on the
He
show.
did some really creepy parts to this. I know in the movie, it's really creepy when they're on the run and they're hiding on the side of the road, and the Nazgul Wraith rides up, gets down, and starts sniffing about them. But as well as that's done in the movie, I think it's even creepier in the book, because Frodo sees him alone in the dark, and that the thing is out there, and it gets down on all fours, starts sniffing, and spider crawls towards him. Boy, that made me pucker up a little bit when I read that. But it also reminded me something like that kind of sort of happened to me in real life a few years ago. And it's easy to read it in a book or watch it in a movie. I'm serious, my dude. It's easy enough to read it in a book or watch it in a movie and just be like, ooh, that's creepy. But it doesn't even have to be overboard. When some shadow shows up at your house, in your yard, and does something, that's going to wig a person out. I was in my driveway on the phone talking to my brother. It was past dark on a summer night, and I'm just kind of talking to him, and I hear somebody coming down the road yelling, rah, rah. And I'm thinking, what are my neighbors doing right now? So my brother's yapping in my ear, and I turn, and I see this shadow walking down the road. And he's just walking down the road in front of my house, and occasionally he keeps going, rah, rah. And I'm just spellbound watching him. And the thought crept into my head, don't make a noise. If he hears you, he will come running up this driveway. And then what will you do? And I was just in my gut, I was thinking, no, not here, not here, not here. Because I was thinking, what if this guy does? Do I run in the house? Do I get a gun? Like what? And my doors are glass. He could easily break in. I'll shoot a person to defend myself, but I don't want to have to.
Right.
What do I do? All of this happening within split seconds. And I'm watching this shadow walk by the house. And I told my brother, you're never going to believe this, but there is a crazy shadow walking by. And my brother could hear it on the other end of the phone. He's like, dude, this is crazy. And I watched him walk up the road and go away. And I don't know where he went. Now, it was not a skinwalker. It was not a Nazgul. But I, in one moment, as a grown man, saw a shadow walk on the road by my house. And I felt Frodo's fear of, don't breathe, don't make noise. He will see you.
And you thought of the name Flag. And then you heard, who speaks the name Flag?
Don't say that word here, Mr. Frodo. Also in The Stand. How often did that happen to characters in The Stand? When Larry is hiding in a house,
coming,
right?
yeah.
And you hear some stranger, some soldier walking by, shouting out orders on the road. Don't make a move, he'll see you. Tolkien did a really good job of writing little scenes like
Yeah.
that, like masterful.
I wanted to add on to your what you were talking about a minute ago, which you so well put, and I meant to say that, but I couldn't get that joke out of my head. One thing I think Tolkien does a really good job with the council and the fellowship is to solve our problems. We all are going to have to come together. You've got a dwarf, an elf who hate each other, right? At the beginning, 4 hobbits, Gandalf, a wizard, 2 men. And they all have to come together and sort out through their differences to solve the problem, as opposed to saying, well, we're just going to take a bunch of elves with us, or we're just going to take a bunch of dwarves with us. Something to think about.
Yeah.
Food for thought.
In chapter 9, while they're staying at Bree, they keep getting hit with questions about, what are y'all up to? What are y'all doing? Frodo and the boys feel compelled to explain why they're there. And what does he say? We're studying the history and people of the area, and we're going to write a book. And I stopped, and I was like, everybody's got a podcast these days, don't they?
Bill Landry, Hills and Hollers.
Yeah. We would be bad people if we neglected the ultimate part of the book, bath time. What the heck? Like in the movie, Frodo doesn't sell Bag End. He just leaves it.
Yeah.
But in the book, he sells it to the Sackville Bagginses. Lobelia
bastards.
finally gets her hands on it. And Frodo moves away to Crick Hollow. He just buys him a little house over here. He also has 2 other friends. Fredegar.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He gets Fredegar and
Fatty Bolger.
Fatty Bolger. Yeah. Fredegar and Fatty. I wrote down on here, why do we not get a spinoff of Fredegar and Fatty? Like, why not? No. Fredegar is Fatty. Fredegar and Falco. That's their names. Fatty Bolger and Falco
Fatty.
Boff. Like, why don't we get a spinoff of Fredegar and Falco? But anyway, Fredegar, Fatty Bolger, is watching the house for him.
I was about to say, Fatty was like, "Lend me some of your clothes, and when these black riders show up, I'm going to make them think I'm you." No! And then they do show up, and he's kind of like, this is a bad idea."
Dude, that's another thing, though. If I have been scared as an adult, it's not of ghosts getting into my house, but it has been, what if this person's trying to break into your house? How are you going to defend your house? I don't know why that thought comes into my head. I live in a really safe
I think it comes through
neighborhood.
everybody's head.
But Frodo, his house in Crick Hollow is like my house. It's pretty isolated. It's out there. It's a nice neighborhood, but isolated. But what if Nazgul tried getting in? How are you going to defend this house? Fatty Bolger, what are you going to do? And I love Fatty's answer is, I better run. I better get out of here.
Also, I love the idea that they go to the elves for counsel. Yes. What are we going to do with the ring? And the elves are like, just throw it in the ocean.
That's what I would do. The elves are like these privileged rich kids at school.
We're not going to be here, so
We're not going to be
toss
here.
it in the ocean.
I'm graduating. That's not my problem. But yeah, they show like, oh, cute, it's hobbits. Dwarf. We can't really let a dwarf in here. That's not going to happen.
Blindfold the dwarf.
Blindfold him.
All right. This one's easy for me. 5 stars.
5 stars.
I'm giving it a 19 out of 20.
I was at 18 in my gut, but yeah.
I can't give it a 20 out of 20 because of my issues with the songs, even though I understand the purpose behind them. That was one thing I wanted to do, and I didn't do a good job of doing it. Is I wanted to take a picture of 2 songs and you and me try to sing one.
Oh, jeez. Again, I skipped through most of the songs. I kept singing them. I was like, skip. Through most of them. I don't know. When we sat with Erin Hoover, she said, ChatGPT likes AB, and you said, me too. So does he.
Tolkien.
He really likes it too.
Oh, man.
This is definitely a 5-star for me, and not just because it's a fantasy book that we grew up with, that there's so much world building and there's well written parts to it. Again, if something's going to stand the test of time, it has to matter beyond the page. It has to matter to our real lives. And if I'm looking at Frodo suffering with, what do I do with this ring, this addiction? Why can I not just give it to somebody that's going to abuse it? Like, you have to respect that there are precious, beautiful things to protect in the world and that we can't take them for granted. Something that I needed to be reminded about was how in the start of Book 2 of Fellowship, it talks about how originally there were two great cities or towers of the South, that Minas Tirith was not what it is now, that there were two towers across the river. There was Minas Ithil, which became Osgiliath, the capital, which was the capital once upon a time. And there was Minas Anor, Tower of the Sun, which is now Minas Tirith, the big city of Gondor. So why is our capital not Osgiliath anymore? In the movies, that's the war-ravaged ruin of a town, because that's the doorstep of Mordor. Why is it Mordor? Because men allowed it to happen. That Mordor kept creeping closer and closer and closer, and it stands on the doorstep right now. It has taken Osgiliath and turned it into a ruin, and it's looking across the river at the fields of Pelennor, and right there is our white city of Minas Tirith. Like, we allowed this to happen. It's not because, we were doomed by our stars or anything. It's because we kept allowing them to take this. Well, we don't need American influence here anymore. Well, let's not worry about this. That's not my problem. Let's turn the parks back over to this. Let's let these things happen. Where did our greatness go? We ceded it away, and we just continue to keep doing this. Fellowship of the Ring is a great warning to the problems in our life are going to keep happening if we let them happen.
That was something I noticed watching the movie last night, is when Gandalf arrives at Minas Tirith to research the ring, he's almost startled at how active Mount Doom is. And it's just so dark and red, and it's right there in front of Minas Tirith. And it's like you said, they're seemingly doing nothing. They're just kind of sitting there watching it happen. How much would you pay for this at McKay's? I feel like this is overpriced at McKay's. I think it's like $12.
You think it's how much?
I think it's like $12 or $14 at McKay's
for like a copy that you and I have.
No.
I'm pretty sure that the paperback copies of it are like $20.
Okay, they probably
or
are.
Yeah, $25 or something like that at McKay's.
Can we have a peace treaty with McKay's to maybe drive those prices down?
The men of McKay's were never there for us. Where were they when the Westfold fell? They won't be here. They won't come back for us. They've driven their prices up. Where were they when the thrifters showed up? If I'm thinking of my hardback copy,
How much did you pay for that one?
Ooh, this was $5 off Abe Books.
Oh wow!
This was a $5. And it's the hardback copy that you and I have.
Yeah.
So you have the box set of it that comes with the nice box. And mine, I just bought individually each one of them. So this was a $5.
I bought my box set for, I think, $55 or $57.
Very nice. Yours are in better condition. Mine, I had to have our librarian, Jacqueline, fix the back.
Also when I was reading it, I know I told you I was like skeptical to read out of them.
Yeah.
I'm glad that I did, because I was talking to Mary Beth about it. Books are intended to be read.
Yeah.
And I'm a collector to an extent. Like, I like to curate my library. And that's one reason I was kind of second guessing reading from those. And I'm glad I did, but I did notice some wear towards when I was getting towards the back of it. So,
my hardback copy, I'm expecting I'm going to pay $20-some for a hardback at McKay's.
If I came across ours at the right time at McKay's, I would pay $20 to $25 for these hardcovers. Yeah,
but I kind of have to go with Abe Books anymore. They're beating you. They're beating you, McKay's. Hands down.
All right. Who we're gonna say thank you as? You did a good Gandalf
With the when he gets excited about his fireworks.
I don't know who I would do. Oh, thank you. Why did
Yes, you have
Sam
to do
sound
Sam.
like Kermit?
So I'm going to tell you right now, I'm pretty sure out of the two of us, you're the Sam.
Oh.
Stop it right now.
I'm Boromir.
Take this right now.
Because I'll take
You are
you to the
Sam.
side and be like,
Take the
"Listen
compliment.
to what we could
That's
do."
a lie. Jason Crockett's more. No. Out of this brotherhood pair, I am the Boromir and you're the Faramir. 100%. You are the Faramir. And because Boromir over here, snotbag Boromir over here. Yes, he is. But out of us, you are definitely the Samwise. You're loyal to your friends. You don't think much of yourself. You think, I'm Sam. I'm just a regular old Sam, whatever. But this entire thing falls apart without Sam. He is the best friend. He is the goodest guy. Sam absolutely is a hero in this book. Frodo makes a lot of bad choices and feels like, well, I have to take care of this because if I don't, nobody else will. And often feels like nobody understands me. Nobody understands what I'm going through. So I could see that being a Frodo thing.
So you've now exposed the purpose of this podcast.
Just
to
to hype
feed
you up,
my
Sam.
ego. That's right.
This is your one ring.
Okay, will you be Frodo and I'll be Sam?
Sam, I have to do this summer read alone. Nobody else could do this. It is my burden to bear. I have been to Ohio. I have been to East Tennessee. I have to continue further. I have to see it all the way through the hot gates of August and into dreadful return to school.
Well, Mr. Frodo, you don't have to go alone. I'll go with you.
No.
I love to read, if you catch my meaning. And my old gaffer, if I let you go, my old gaffer, he says, Sam, why'd you let him go? You had one job to do, Sam. And so says I says, I'll follow Frodo, even if it is to Ohio. I'll follow you, even though I don't really understand corn and all those, if you catch my meaning.
Oh, Sam, you curly-headed freak.
I can't swim, though, Mr. Frodo. I can't swim.
Get up in this boat before you drown and tip us over, Sam. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Frodo, if you catch my meaning.
With Honors is a Free Zone Radio production, created here in Sparta, Tennessee. Thanks for spending your summer with us on the radio. If you enjoyed this content, please give us a like, share the link with someone you know, or give us a 5-star rating, and hit that subscribe button for more. Word of mouth might be the best advertising, but clicking like and subscribe really does help keep us afloat and visible in all the platforms. And we want to keep working to bring you even more episodes next season. Stick with us for the big summer read of 2026, The Lord of the Rings. We're taking the book chunk by chunk, volume by volume this summer, starting with The Fellowship of the Ring. Read along with us. Send us all your thoughts and questions, and let us know if you want to be on the show too. And go listen to this week's episodes from our other show, Second Stage, and our brother podcast, A Dead Man's Books. They make for great listening while you're tanning by the pool, or mowing the yard, or driving on that 8-hour family trip. You can find all our shows here on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to great content.
Hey everyone, my name is Drew, and I want to talk to you about my show, A Dead Man's Books. The show was created with the mindset of whenever I pass away, as morbidly as that sounds, that my children would inherit my books, and of all the things that I'm going to pass down to them, I think that that's the one thing that I want them to make sure that they keep and go through on their own time, but I want to be there next to them whenever they read these things. And so I created a podcast so that they could go back and listen to me and my friends and other people as we read through these books and what we had to think about it. But it's grown to so much more. We've got authors we interview. We talk about everyday life. We talk about how literature connects to life. All of those things in one place.
And now we want you to come along with us and join us. This is a podcast not just for my kids, but for everyone who loves to read, everyone who loves a good story, everyone who's a parent, everyone who's a teacher, everyone who just enjoys literature. This is a place to come. So come join us every Monday on A Dead Man's Books.